Okay, so I need to tell you about a fictional guy whose job is to be the middleman between AI and a potential future you. Now, he's a fresh junior analyst at a fictional company called GenWealth. And on paper, his job sounds pretty reasonable: provide financial security to everyone. This story is focusing on his first major case, a recipient called Aaron, and how one simple decision by this fresh junior analyst can end up dictating life changing decisions by this unknowing recipient. So, a bit of context before we go back into this fictional story. So, GenWealth is a fictional wealth product that is basically a form of private universal basic income set in, say, 3 to 5 years from now. Parents sign up for a policy and pay a fixed amount every month, a bit like insurance, and then GenWealth invests that money. And in return, it promises that when their children are of 18 years of age, there will be a minimum monthly support amount provided to help with rent, basic healthcare, and a reasonably stable life, even if the job market gets messy or is non existent. Now, most parents who sign up are not buying hype. They're just thinking, I want my kids to be okay, and if something goes wrong, I want them to have a safety net. Inside GenWealth, that safety net turns into dashboards, labels, and risk scores. And people like this junior analyst sit between the AI and the policy manual, deciding what policies to apply to each recipient based on big data probabilities. With this basic context, let's jump back into the story. Now, when the junior analyst newly joined initially, he honestly felt lucky. He's not from money himself, so the idea of working at a place that promises to provide families with essentially financial freedom actually means something to him. Day to day, his screen is just a sea of cases. Each one is a person whose policy the AI has reviewed with a recommendation on what should happen next. His job, at least in the way he understands it at the start, is to be the human monitor, to make sure the AI sticks to policy and to detect any external malicious prompt injections. Part of what makes GenWealth so powerful is how much of your life it can actually see. With consent buried within confusing onboarding processes, it plugs into your bank accounts, utility payments, landlord systems, and increasingly the smart home layer too, like the voice assistant in your kitchen, the CCTV feeds, and even the work laptop that sits open on the dining table. It does not need to read every word, it just needs patterns. On its side of the glass, all that shows up as neat dashboards and confidence scores. One morning, a case appears near the top of his queue with a red flag beside it. Aaron, mid-30s, married with 2 kids. GenWealth has been paying a steady monthly support amount into this household for a few years now. The AI has attached a prediction: high probability of voluntary job exit within 12 months. Under that alert is a recommendation to route Aaron into something called a consumer stability policy and apply the standard actions. On the surface, the language used still sounds pretty harmless. It talks about continuity, household resilience, and preemptive support. But having never seen this policy before, he queries the AI to determine what exact actions the policy will actually trigger. What comes back is even worse than what he expected. If Aaron leaves his current job without lining up another role that meets GenWealth's stability criteria, the payout will be reduced or at minimum, paused for review, subject to a formal appeal. His landlord and main credit providers will receive a soft potential instability notice, triggering their own AI systems to review existing agreements with this new information and to issue eviction notices or settlement claims if deemed necessary. Certain clauses even allow for selective actions to be executed, despite the risk never actually materializing or being committed to in any shape or form. The risk itself is treated as justification for punitive action. Sitting there, the junior analyst realizes this is not just about observing Aaron, it is about shaping the conditions around him so that leaving his safe job, the one that provides predictable monthly contributions into the fund, for the unpredictability of a startup, is not even a real option. It bothers him enough that he does not just click approve. Instead, he walks over to his supervisor's desk and asks if placing Aaron into the consumer stability policy is even ethical when Aaron actually hasn't done anything yet. His supervisor stays calm. He looks at the screen and walks him through it. The red flag indicates a 73.2% probability of high risk activity. The action set is based on an algorithm with proven predictable results. Nobody is forcing Aaron to do anything, he says. GenWealth is simply managing risk before it spreads. Then he adds something else. The junior analyst does not actually have the option to click no, as long as the parameters are precise with no obvious irregularities. His only job is to approve the action. That or face immediate termination for non-compliance. And that is the moment the junior analyst realizes he's exactly in the same position as Aaron. Play ball or suffer the consequences. He goes back to his desk and opens the case file again. The Approve Policy Actions button is bright and easy to hit. The Request Review option is smaller, lighter, and buried under a note about how this option is only to be selected in the case of any obvious irregularities, along with a fine print indicating that improper reporting will have severe impact on his performance reviews. He hesitates, then does what the structure around him has quietly taught him to do. He clicks Approve. A moment later, the monitoring panel starts updating and the AI starts working its magic. On his dashboard, Aaron is not just a static profile. He's a live stream of indicators: recent device activity, account behavior, timing patterns, message events. The GenWealth email lands first. Soft language, stability commitments, temporary review measures if household risk increases. 10 minutes later, to really drive the message home, a notification goes out to Aaron's iPhone indicating that his Flex Access benefits have been downgraded a tier for 12 months as a result of perceived high-risk activity. Then, there is activity from Aaron's work laptop at home. The system does not show every word on the screen, but it shows enough. Mail client open, a subject line containing resignation, cursor movements, then a long pause. The junior analyst watches that draft sit there for almost a minute. Then, the unsent draft disappears. Aaron closes his laptop. Activity drops. Just a quiet little moment where a man who was just about to change his life reads a polite warning from the system, followed by an actual benefit suspension, and then decides not to send the email. And the person watching that happen is the junior analyst who approved that policy that pushed him across the line that the policy determined. Now, what unsettles me most here is not just that GenWealth limits Aaron's options to choose. It is that the monitoring is baked in quietly all the time with no real off switch. The monitoring tech exists today, and we are gradually releasing all control and rights to it. The system does not just know his balance or his payout history. It knows when he is up late, when his behavior changes, when a resignation draft is sitting open on a screen in his home laptop. And it can lean into that moment with a message that sounds helpful, but change the choice in front of him. And the junior analyst is not some cartoon villain. He is just someone who learns very quickly that if he wants to stay in the system, the easiest thing to do is to religiously follow the system, click approve, and stop thinking too hard about the human being on the other side of it. You already see softer versions of this in finance, in technology, in venture firms. People are starting out relating to the founders, teams, users, and customers as actual human beings. And then the structure trains them to think in exposures, risk, stability, and write-offs. Because that is what keeps the machine moving and that is what gets rewarded. How many of our future choices are actually still going to be ours when systems and policies like this are going to continuously improve and quietly shape the conditions around us? It is only hyper accelerated with AI. Would you have also made the same choices as the junior analyst in this situation? And do you have any thoughts about UBI? I personally believe with the massive job elimination caused by AI, a form of universal basic income will become absolutely necessary. If you have thoughts, let me know your views in the comments down below. And if you like this story, check in again for the next one where I share more made up stories in the same universe 3 to 5 years from now about us, technology, and the perils that is brought up by bad policy. Until then, stay innovative and stay safe.